All right, guys, welcome to the Dihedral Podcast. Today we have Andrew Joyner joining us at the table. He's joining us at the table.
I'm here.
He's back here in Houston from Utah. Long drive down here.
Yeah, it's like 20 hours. So, and
Cool.
I've done it like over 10 times. So.
Okay.
Nice.
The question is, what brought you here?
This
Why?
time,
Yeah.
it's kind of a long story. This is going to be a long podcast? Or
Oh,
is it
yeah.
like a short one?
We
It's
got
a long...
time. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
We've got time for that long story.
Okay. Basically, all right. This is where we start. So I was in Utah. My mom died. I mean, I was here when my mom died, but then I went back to Utah after like 2 weeks. Like I had the funeral. I went home, and I was like, thought I was like grieving like a normal person. You know, things were like going okay. You know, I wasn't really climbing a bunch, but I was like doing a lot of mountain biking. It was kind of like bringing me therapy, but like, and I would like cry and stuff. You know, I'd be like on my way driving, somewhere, a song come on, I'd cry, or sometimes like, you know, me and my wife, you know, she'd have to like comfort me while I'd mourn, you know, but it didn't seem like that heavy. Like it sucked, you know, like things sucked, like obviously, but it wasn't like that heavy. I thought like, I was like, man, like this really sucks, but I thought it would like suck way harder, you know, like if that makes sense. But, and then, so everything was kind of going fine. And then like I noticed like this kind of build up, like I started to treat people like not how I normally do. Like I usually am super nice. I started to be like kind of like rude to people. I was like mad all the time. It was like this weird build up inside of me. I wasn't really sure what was going on. And like I started to kind of feel anxious some days, like a little bit of anxiety. And I was like, I haven't felt like that in a long time. And then one day I had like a crazy like psychotic breakdown and like had this crazy anxiety attack that lasted for like 3 days straight, like nonstop. And I'm about to go hard real quick. So like this super gnarly like anxiety and like I felt like I was dying, like crazy stuff. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like I'm freaking out. Like I don't know if should I go to the hospital. Like I should fly to Houston. So my dad bought me a plane ticket. I flew straight down to Houston. I went to see like a therapist. They like gave me like my dad instantly like, gave me some anxiety medicine. Like didn't do anything. I didn't sleep. Like I was freaking out and like I believe in God, you know, and like I always have. And like the guidelines of it have always been kind of wishy-washy, like not really sure, like maybe like he's an orb of energy that connects us all. I don't know. And then like what I knew, like my wife has always been like, she's like a woman of God. She's always been like super involved in her church and like she's been Christian. And I was like, take me there. I was like, we have to go. And I was like, she was like, okay. And we went. And like they had like an altar call, which they like when they bring people up to the front for like healing and stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm freaking out and like I need like Jesus to help me, you know. Yeah. And I know this isn't like a Jesus podcast, it's a climbing podcast, but this is what happened. And pastor started praying for me, like this revelation like came upon me and like God like hit me with a lightning strike. Like I felt like this presence from like my feet to my head, so powerful. I like fell on the ground, I was like praying in tongues, like gnarliness was happening. And like it all stopped. Like it didn't stop permanently, but like the worst of it, like boom, was gone. You know what I mean? Like this, the gnarliest of gnarly, like, you know, it was, I mean, I'd never felt like that before, you know? And so that happened and it's been kind of like a recovery since then. So I was like, okay, like boom, I'm all about like the Lord now, you know, I need to like redirect everything I do. And so I've been trying to do that, but like after 2 weeks, I like flew back to Utah. I was like, okay, I think I'm good. I should be able to handle this. I'm like on some medication too to like kind of level it out. But then like the anxiety kind of was lifted, but then depression like hit me, like this like gnarly depression. And I was like, man, I was like getting suicidal, like not like actually suicidal, but like I would think about suicide and then think about suicide would give me anxiety and trigger this depression. I was just all messed up, man. And I was like trying to get closer to God and trying to figure it all out. And it just wasn't really, I don't know. I did this fast. I was like praying, and then I felt like, you know, I needed to go back to Houston and continue my journey, you know, like my spiritual journey that I'm on. And so me and my wife, we prayed about it, talked about it, and we decided this was what was right. So, and she's taking like 16 credit hours, you know, and like working like full time. I couldn't ask her to drop everything. So we're like, it's okay. Like, I'll take care of this here and I'll go down to Houston. And I came down to Houston and man, it's been a journey, dude. It's like, I'm actually like feeling like really good now, you know. I'm like, felt like I'm accomplishing what I've like came down here to accomplish, and I want to continue to carry that out as I go back to Utah, you know. And climbing has been pretty instrumental in that, because I kind of stopped climbing because, one, I tore my meniscus. So I didn't want to like fall. And I'm a boulderer for sure. Like I always like trad climbing, you know, too. But like I like mainly a boulderer, and like I like to go like trad climbing, you know. But I like to climb like towers or whatever, you know. But I just didn't want to fall, like take falls, you know, because if I fall like on
your
a
knee.
on a boulder onto the ground, like I'll hurt my knee. Like I didn't want to fall from like, you know, if I'm climbing a 5'8" crack, if I fall, you know, you're going to fall like, you know, on slabby or like ledgy terrain. And like, that's going to definitely destroy my knee, you know? And, so, but since then, and I went on like this climb, like right before my mom died, I was like climbing with my buddy, and it was just way more than I asked for. It was like this gnarly climb. It was like a 2-pitch climb in Moab. I don't remember what it was called. And it was just kind of like this big feature, and I guess there was a 5'9" variation, a 5'10", and like things are a little bit harder there than they are in the rock gym. You know what I mean?
For
So
sure.
I'm like, okay, I'll lead the first pitch, you know, like, and I was already feeling like kind of crazy. Like my mom was getting really sick at the time, and I was like about to come back to Houston to be with her. And I was just like, my mind was all over the place. And funny enough, I was climbing with a buddy who's just like super Christian, has been my whole life, just been a really good friend of mine. But, anyway, so I was like climbing, I like get to this like kind of like roof, like cruxy part. It was like, and I just couldn't pull the roof, dude. It wasn't like that hard, honestly. Like it was kind of burly, but I was just like, my head was just everywhere. And I was just like, I don't know, dude, you can lead this. And so I came down. He led it. We got on the 5'10" variation by accident. And yeah, it was like, okay, but he got to this top, man. The top had like this crazy kind of like boulder problem from like an undercling that was like a choss boulder that like, if you looked like if you fell on it, it would just like pull off the wall, you know? Yeah. And then, but anyway, he led that pitch, and then I climbed up there and everything was good. I was like kind of like feeling like way more scared than normal, and just like I said, I was feeling weird. And so we're like hanging on this like belay and stuff, and like I don't know about y'all, but like whenever I climb, like I'm not one of those dudes that's like I'm gonna run things out and I'm gonna climb with a light rack. Like, dude, I get kind of nervous, you know. Totally. I like to put in lots of gear, you know, where I can, and usually it's not a problem. But this day, that like was not a good idea, because this rack that we had was so heavy that it destroyed me. I'll tell you why in a second. So we're like. So then my buddy climbs the second pitch, was like the real crux, and it had like this fist like roof traverse with like super smeary, like, you know, like slippery, like polished sandstone kind of like smearing. And so he like climbs it, and while he's climbing, I'm like belaying him, his gear loop breaks, dude. And a number 6 and a number 4, I'm looking just coming down as they come right towards me, dude. Oh, the number 4 like wasn't really like, it like fell in this crack. And then the number 6 was like coming for me, dude. But like the carabiner on the end of like the dog bone, like hit a rock.
Like slow motion. Like.
Yeah, it like hit a rock and like barely changed its trajectory, like to just like that smallest degree next to me. And I was like, you know, I had a helmet on, but like, dude, it like fell like 100 feet below me to the ground, and it was fine. And then like rocks were falling, like it like there was some choss pile stuff going on, and then. Anyway, he like pulled the roof, and then it is like a long run out to the top, and I was like, I'm glad I didn't do that, because I wouldn't have been able to. I don't think, like mentally or whatever. But anyway, he did it, and then so I start climbing, and he can't see me. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where he's like belaying me up to him, but it's like out of sight. And I'm like going through this roof, and like all this gear on me, dude, was like in my way, and it would like get stacked on my knee, and I would have to like pull it up. Like I had a gear sling, and that's where all the gear was. And I was like pulling all this gear, and it was like pounds and pounds of gear, and like flipping it over me, and it was like super heavy, and my arms were pumped from like this like locked off bicep like thing, and like I was just trying to pull all this gear, and my arm was like so weak, it was like going limp, and I was like trying to push this gear off of me, and like I was like, this is just terrible, man. And it was like I had a terrible time, and it was like not good, and like, you know, there was like scary things happening, and I was like thinking about my mom, and I was like, my mind is all messed up right now, and I hate rock climbing. You know, I was like, I hate this. And we got up there, I was like, man, I hated that. He was like, yeah, I could tell. And then we like smoked a cigarette or whatever, and then we like rapped down. And I was just like, and even like rapping down, like I was a canyoneering guide at the time, you know, like all I do is rappel, you know. Even right then I was like scared about it. And then and then after that, I was like, I'm not gonna climb really that much anymore.
Yeah.
What's up?
Well, I think that's interesting because, and I think that's an important thing for people to hear, whether you're a rock climber or not, is because like kind of like what we were talking about before the podcast is like people see these Alex Honnold's, free solo, and that's kind of how they see rock climbing. But it's like, no, I mean, like you're a badass. Like the stuff that you climb, like if you fall, you need to check out his Instagram. Like he climbs some awesome shit.
Yeah.
But like there's still fear there. It's like it's not like all these climbers are just normal people. Yeah. And so I think it's like you're still you're climbing these routes and you're scared. Mm-hmm. Like even though you were in a bad headspace, it's like well,
and also the fact that you can be in a bad headspace because you have this conception that you have to be your head in the game and you have to be so focused. But the reality is that sometimes you also have those split seconds where some things just throw you completely off and kind of ruin the experience. Based on what you're saying. I have a question though, because you're telling all of the stories and it sounds like it was 5 years ago. So much has happened.
This was actually like 6 months ago.
Okay, so yes, this is a testament to what I'm about to say. You have been through so much in this, at least let's say, past year. Just to put it in perspective for the listeners to understand, I'm sorry about the passing of your mom. You never know what to say because I'm sorry. It's just short. Every experience and journey is different. But when was this and the period of time from that situation to today? When was all this and where are you standing right now?
So that was probably last fall. Okay. I think it was like close, maybe not. It was like transition from summer to fall, I think. It was like, actually it was like August or September, one of those months. I don't remember exactly. But it was like, it was sometime around then. And like, that's when I was just like, I'm not even going to climb anymore, and then, or at least not for now, I have like a lot of time and money invested into rock climbing, and I've had a lot of goals, like long-term goals that I still want to like train for eventually and stuff. But like at that time I was like, I'm not about this, and then now I'm like getting super excited about rock climbing again since I came back here and like the gym was like, because I guess a lot of listeners don't know, I used to set at Inspire Rock for like a little while. And so I've been back and one of the other setters like broke her ankle. And so they're like, oh, come set. And I was like, I mean, like, I'm weak, I'm weak now. Like, I'll come set, but, like, I'm weak. But, man, I've been having so much fun setting.
So, basically, I'm sad that you broke your ankle, but thank you for breaking your ankle.
Sorry, Jerica.
It's interesting that you came back, like, you're from Utah, which has all this beautiful climbing. And then you come back to Houston and get excited about climbing.
I was like... So I like went to the gym. I helped them 4 run once, and I was just so weak. It was pathetic. I was like on a V3 in the cave, and like my arms were shaking, and I was like, I don't even want to be seen right here. Like I suck right now. Not that if you climb V3 is hard. Like it's harder. Like it's very hard for an average human like that doesn't climb to climb V3. So it's still hard. Right. But
compared to where you've been,
But for me, like I was like, this sucks. But like I helped them set a couple times, and like I never really liked setting on ropes that much, I always liked bouldering because it's just more fun to me, and setting on ropes like a lot more work, but even that I was like super psyched about setting on ropes, and then I ended up setting like way more than I thought I was going to. Then we had the 2 comps, and there was like today's Sunday, so yesterday was the locals comp for the kids, the youth locals comp. And, like, I set for that, and, like, I went and volunteered and, like, lead relayed the kids on there. And it was just, like, seeing people, like, take whippers and, like, make hard moves. And, like, psyched. I was like, heck yeah, dude. Yeah. And so now I'm all, like, starting to get really excited about rock climbing again. And, like, I ordered some, like, technical, like, trad climbing shoes and stuff. So I was like, because I have, like, 5 pairs of bouldering shoes, and they all have holes in them. So, like.
So when your mom passed and you decided I'm not about rock climbing, what do you think about your mom passing made you feel that way? Like where do you think the connection is between that?
So basically there was a couple climbs I went on, and there's just a couple things they did that were like seemed really sketchy to me. You know, might not be for those like hardcore hard men, like, you know, trad dads that like do like R-rated like climbs, like whatever. That's cool. I'm not really like into that, you know, but that is cool that people do that, you know. But like for me, the couple climbs that I did, there was just these couple like sketchy experiences where it was like in over my head a little bit, you know, and like that in combination with me like going through this crazy like mourning process, and then at the same time I was like, you know, I could legitimately get super fucked up on this climb, you know, like, you know, like legitimate bad things can happen right now, you know, like if you climb in Moab, you know, there's at least like a good amount of like sketchy climbs here and there, you know, and you know, so I was like, bad things can happen here, you know. I'm newly married, you know, because I got married right before my mom died, you know, and I was like, and my wife, like, we'll go climb together too, you know. She doesn't like climbing super hard stuff, you know. She's like, she likes to climb like tall, like pretty, like, you know, easy stuff. And like, there's even a couple times when her and I were in a sketchy situation, and she got scared, and then her fear made me scared. I was like, I don't want to subject her to any sort of thing that makes her uncomfortable, you know. And then at the same time, I'm out with like my buddy, and, you know, I don't know. I was just like, not saying like, oh, I could die, but like you actually could, you know, like
Let me break it down for you.
Yeah, like
you can't die.
Yeah, like, well, like that's not as likely as me just taking a big fall, like breaking my leg or something. But even that, you know, like we're in a really remote desert, you know. So then my friend and I, we're gonna have to figure this out. It's gonna be a whole situation. We won't be home till 3 a.m. My wife will be freaking out, and like that on top of like all this other stuff. Just the risk of it, of anything like super risky, I was just like, I don't feel like doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that like, so I mean, I think I kind of had a little bit of a similar experience. I lost like a grandparent like really, really suddenly, really fast, and then kind of bottled down those feelings like you were saying, and then it kind of starts to come up in other areas like anxiety, you know, things like that. And I think when we lose people, I think we definitely start thinking, we kind of have to confront like, you know, our own mortality, I think a little bit.
Like,
and so there's nothing more real than that. Like, I think for some people it's like on a highway where it's like, okay, you know, I could die right now. Or maybe you have a close brush with like maybe with a car accident. You're like, I could have just died. But with rock climbing, it's like, yeah, I can pretty much always almost die.
Yeah. I mean, like if you like, you know, if you've been like climbed with a mentor, you like, you know, like what you're doing, you know, you don't just looking up YouTube videos and going out and like, you know, setting up top ropes for like your buddies and like nobody really knows what's going on. Like, it's not like that, but like even if you do everything right, man, like things can go wrong. You know, you got pro climbers dying all the time because they didn't tie a knot in the end of their rope. You know, it's like stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of the same with car accidents too. I mean, like, dude, you're driving down the highway, you could die.
I know, like that driving is like, I think it's more dangerous than climbing, honestly. And it's just something we've all decided is okay because, you know, like we want to get places faster, you know? So, it's weird. And I definitely know what you're talking about. Like, and it wasn't just my mom died. Like I had a buddy die like a year and a half before that really messed me up, dude. It was like the first like buddy I had that died that I was like, I cried. You know, I had other friends that I knew that passed away. I was like, oh man, that really sucks. Like, I'm pretty upset about it. But like, this dude, I like cried, like, you know, like more than once. It wasn't just like, oh, he died, like, I cried. You know,
that's like real.
Yeah. And then there was like, and then another buddy of mine in Moab passed away, like right after my mom. I got back to Utah, and then my wife came and told me that one of my buddies passed away in a car accident. This is what you're talking about. And I was like, oh my God, that like kind of messes me up in the head, you know, but I'm gonna try to just ignore it. And then I went mountain biking on this trail called the Whole Enchilada, which the Whole Enchilada is like world-renowned mountain bike trail. Like you shuttle to the top of the mountains by Moab and you end up in the desert floor, and it's like the best ride, you know. And anyway, I was out there like riding, dude, and like having a great time. And then like I hit this big drop. It was like probably like a 3 or 4 foot drop, you know. And then I like landed. Then my buddies like derailleur got messed up, so we stopped. And then we heard all this like panicking like 20 yards behind us, like just 30 seconds, you know, later. And we like run up there, and there's like a lady face down with like the most blood I'd ever seen out of a human being, and she died.
Oh my God.
And I was like, dude, like, why is everyone dying? Yeah, it was like she didn't die while we was there, but she looked to me. I was like, that lady's dead, you know. And like, dude. And there was a bunch of people trying to like be like wilderness first responders and play that role. And like a lot of them didn't know what's up. And like a couple of them did. And everyone was panicking. And
what
like,
was this lady doing again?
She was mountain biking too.
She was mountain biking.
And so she had like went off this drop that I had just gone off of. And I guess she like landed on her face in like the worst way you could. And it was like, I was like, that was pretty weird, you know?
That's rough.
And then after I had all this like panic attack stuff and like went to Houston, like while I was here for that 2 weeks, another buddy of mine literally shot himself. I don't know if he shot himself, but he committed suicide.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like this is like, you know, when it rains, it pours for sure.
Right.
You know, but like, along with, you know, like me not wanting to climb as much or not do as much extreme stuff because I'm like confronting my own mortality, like you were just talking about, and then like everybody around me's dying. I was like, it definitely all contributed to like my like mental breakdown, you know. But yeah, it was like pretty rough.
That's definitely a really rough period.
And that was all in the last 6 months, pretty much, you know.
From today?
Oh my God.
Yeah, pretty much from today. Except for like one of my buddies, it was like a year before that.
So do you feel like you're still in that period? Do you feel like you're still...
I feel like I'm exiting it finally, you know, and I definitely like starting a new chapter, you know, and it's pretty awesome, and I've gained a lot of hope, and I know like I got a lot of cool ideas and like dreams for the future, you know, that I'm trying to like start to inch towards, you know, but we'll see what happens.
How has your involvement with the outdoors evolved from before all these losses all the way to now? Because basically Andrew is like the Mary Poppins of the outdoor activity. He has done a little bit of everything. But now that, again, we're talking about mortality, etc., how do you interact with nature now, before and after?
Yeah. Well, I'm about to. I started skiing in the last 6 months too, and that is awesome, dude. Like it is awesome. Like if you haven't skied, you need to start skiing. Like it's kind of expensive to start. That's the only thing. Like, and that was another thing. Like I'll tell you about it. But I was like, I started skiing,
Please do.
And I was like, dude, like I sucked. Okay,
Yeah.
like my wife, she's like instantly way better than me. I was like, no, you know, like I need to get better. You know, and it's awesome seeing her ski. She like picked it up super quick, and my brother, who's like super clumsy, like I don't know if he's gonna listen to this, but you're super clumsy, and like in my eyes, you know, it's like you're not the most coordinated. I wouldn't think, you know, at first glance.
Yeah.
But he put on a pair of skis and he was shredding, dude.
Nice.
And then and I was like struggling to catch up to everyone. I was like, okay, like what's up with this? I'm like decent at everything else, like outdoor stuff, I guess. And then finally, like it clicked, and I just started like I went to Powderhorn near Moab, and it was like powdery at Powderhorn,
Nice.
and it was like sick, dude. I was just skiing the blues, like nothing crazy, but like man, like the freedom I felt was just amazing. Like. And that was when I was in like the worst of it, you know. It was like that was when I was really like in the gut of like all like the pain and like the crap I was dealing with, and kind of still am. But when I was like, you know, just shredding, you know, like through the powder and stuff, you know, I don't know.
That's awesome. Like I think it's cool that you were able to kind of escape, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, would you call it that? I mean.
Yeah. The only problem was at the end of the day, I'd be okay. That was a sick day. Like I should feel amazing. But there was some days, like even after a big ski day, I would like feel like a crazy person.
Yeah,
you know?
I know that, man.
And then I was at Taos Ski Valley in New Mexico, and like I'm not like rich, you know what I mean? Like I just have like a normal job. I'm a bike mechanic, you know, at a bike shop, you know.
Okay.
And so me and my wife and my brother and his girlfriend, we were sitting at a table, and we were just like taking a lunch break. And Taos is like kind of like more expensive than like a lot of other places. We just were there to check it out, you know. And I was like looking around, and I was like, a lot of these people look like they're like super rich, you know. I was like thinking about all this. And I was like, we're just all so privileged in here, you know. And I was thinking about some of the kids that I've worked with and some of the people I've like seen, you know, like in Houston, because you know I used to work for like a nonprofit here in Houston, like taking kids mountain biking. A couple different populations, but some were like definitely, you know, like on the poverty line, like dudes like in aftercare, you know, from the south side of Houston or wherever. And I was thinking about them a lot.
Totally.
I was like, dude, there's so many messed up families in Houston, like that never would get healing. But like, if they could have what I have right now with my family that I'm just now getting to experience, like, dude, Like, if they could just have those memories, laugh their asses off at people falling down the mountain. Like, because that's all we were doing. We were sucking together. We were laughing together. Like, it was just a great time. So I was, like, thinking about, what if, like, we could get, like, all these people, like, out there? You know, like, if you could, like, sponsor, like, a family from just the most ghetto, you know, and be like, look, let's all go skiing. It sounds whack. Like, maybe they wouldn't even want to. But, like, let's all do it and see what happens. Like, I could see some pretty cool things happening. But I couldn't help but, like, feel guilty, you know? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not like rich or anything. I was like, a lot of these people feel like they are, you know, and I feel like I'm just like in this bubble up here in like some, you know, ski resort. I felt bad. I don't know. I felt guilty. You know, maybe I shouldn't, but I did at the time.
I think that's and it's funny that you say that, because my next question was going to be like, I think there's a lot of people out there in Houston. I think a lot of people don't even realize that it's right here in Houston, you know, right around the street. There's a lot of people who shit happens in their life. They go through really hard times, like you know what you're kind of coming in out of right now, and they don't have anywhere to go.
Nowhere. Yeah.
The only places they have to go are probably the places that are destroying their life, you know? And so I think that that's powerful, and I think that's cool that, you know, we wanted to talk about your community service as well, and like but I think that's powerful to be in this hard time, but also be thinking about other people, you know, at the same time. And I think that comes from, you know, without trying to butter you up too much, that comes from you just being a nice guy. But I think that's kind of a normal human reaction too, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know?
Does this have anything to do maybe for the listeners that don't know, Andrew recovered from drug addiction, right?
Yeah, I think it has something to do with that. You know, I mean, like, I was like a meth addict for a long time and like did a lot of like crazy drugs and psychedelics and just like, and it wasn't like I just barely did it, you know, like I shot up meth like 3 times a day and like would take like 10 hits of acid, you know, and just like, I did that for a couple years, you know, and I was just like, dude, and I got in this program and it was like all about being sober and stuff. And like, I was like, okay, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it out and see what happens. I went to jail a bunch of times and I was like always in and out of jail. Like, I was just like, I would get out of jail and first thing I would do was like go freaking find some meth, you know, and then I would go back like 3 days later because I went to steal something so I could get more meth, you know. I'd be like, dude, I'm sick of this. So the last stretch was like I was in jail for like 6 months. And it was like the perfect amount of time for me to just, and it was for something I didn't do. That was the crazy thing. I was completely innocent and I was like in jail for like something I didn't do. This lady said I broke into her house, but I didn't. And she was lying. She like purposely did it to get me in jail just because of like this vendetta she had against me. I don't know.
Jeez, dude, this
it was like it was like super crazy.
I love how this is like a one like sentence like story, and it's like I kind of want to dive deeper into this, but also no.
Yeah, I could go way too deep into it, and it would just shift everything in a weird way. But so anyway, but I thank God every day that this lady was a psychopath and was like out to get me. You know, because, you know, when you're all paranoid and stuff, you think everyone's out to get you. But this lady actually was. Okay. And it was like, thank God that she was. Because, dude, I don't know where I'd be if she didn't, like, falsely accuse me of something and then send me to jail for 6 months, you know. And then I got out and, like, fought the case for, like, another year. And I, like, still took a hit for it, you know. And my, like, buddy went to prison, too, you know. And so it was like, but, yeah. So, anyway.
So why would you say thank God for that? Like,
because it stopped me in my tracks. You see what I mean? Like, I was like, because that 6 months I spent in jail, like I got out and I like went to like a party or something, and I was like, I like got drunk and stuff, but I felt really stupid because of it, you know. And then I had another buddy die right then, but this was like 5 years ago.
Overdose?
Yeah, overdose. He like overdosed on heroin. Jeez. And then I was like, I like smoked a joint, you know, like that day, like. And I was like, okay, like, I think I'm going to just give it a go. I'm going to, like, get sober, you know. But this program that I was getting into, I got into this outpatient program, you know. It was kind of like the, you know, guidelines of, like, my dad. I hadn't really even talked to him or had a good relationship with him for years. But finally, like, one day I called him from jail. I was just thinking about him hard. I was like, Dad, like, I love you. I miss you. And he was like, I'm going to bond you out. You just got to get in an outpatient program. So I did, and they like do all the 12 steps and all that stuff. But there was like this other kind of like sect of it. Like there was this dude like taking all the kids like to the wilderness, like backpacking and mountain biking. And even when I was like doing ice and stuff, I was like into mountain biking, you know, like I'd go do some sketchy stuff and then I like go hit the trails like on this crappy bike, like with no helmet, you know, and then I'd be like, that was sick, dude, you know, but, and I had dreamed I was like trapped in this bondage, you know, of like drugs and just like hell. But like I would dream about like going to the mountains. I was like, man, one day I'm just gonna be a hobo, hop on a train, go all the mountains, and just be there, you know. And like, but I could never do it because I was so addicted to drugs that wouldn't be there, you know. And I could never break away from it. And every time I go to jail, like as soon as I get out, I'm like getting to the mountains somehow, and I would never make it there. And then this dude was like telling me, you know, like, dude, we're going on this mountain bike trip and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, count me in. You know, they got the bikes and everything. And I went on this mountain biking trip and I was like, mountain biking's life. You know, it's like, this is awesome. Like, I've been searching for this my entire life. Like, and, but yeah, and then at that time I was like really working on getting sober, you know, and like working the 12 steps and like going to AA meetings and going to this program and doing everything. And it was like super awesome. Like, everybody there, a lot of them were younger than me, but they were super cool, dude. And they were all like saying, I love you all the time and like hugging me. And I was like, yes, I love you too. You know, like this is sick. You know, it was awesome. And like we would just like have like one-on-ones. We'd always like talk to each other and like be super real and like look each other in the eye and like, you know, just say real stuff like that. You normally just, if you just went up to a random person and started saying this stuff, they'd be like, dude, get away from me. You know, like I don't want to know the ins and outs of everything. You know, and then, so I was doing that for a while. And then, like, I started to kind of, like, drift off a little bit, you know? Like, I was, like, in this relationship with this girl, and it was, like, kind of working out, kind of not. And then we, like, broke up. And then I was, like, kind of kicked out of this program, you know? Not because I was, like, I was still sober, but I was, like, I'd say I was probably on the brink of not being anymore, like, in a bad way. Like, I'm not, I mean, I'm sober, like, now. You know, but like I like drink craft beer here and there. It's like great. I love like IPAs and like stouts, like weird stouts, you know, but I don't like being drunk or anything like that. And but anyway, so I was like starting to do that and all this stuff, and then a good friend of mine now, but at the time he was just like kind of like a mentor to me, you know, like still friend, but like a mentor to me. The dude that ran this outdoor program was like, hey, you know, like we got to sign up for this internship thing I'm doing. And so I signed up for it, and like we went on this rock climbing trip, dude. He like showed me rock climbing. Went to TRG, Texas Rock Gym, which a lot of people are like, oh, TRG, you know. But dude, I don't know. I have like the sentimental thing there. It's like dirty. It smells like an armpit in there. Like all the holds, like they use foot holds as hand holds, and like they're all like greasy, and like I don't know how they wash them or when they do. But I always have a good time when I'm there, you know, and. Like learned to like lead climb and stuff, and then we went to Waco Tanks. We went bouldering, and all while we're like kind of learning like leadership skills and stuff like that. And it was like kind of focused on sobriety, but it was really focused on like living like a true life, you know, like a real life, like living life, you know, and you know, there's definitely more out there for like dudes that are in recovery and stuff like that. It's awesome, but there's definitely more out there than just going to AA meetings all the time, you know. It's like, it's not that you can't do that, you know, or anything, but like to me, I was like, there's more, you know, like there's more, and like climbing is sick, you know, and mountain biking sick. And then I had been to Utah. I went mountain biking in Park City, like after I did this like backpacking trip in Oregon with this program, and I was like, Utah, you know, like I'm gonna move there. You know, I'd never been to Moab. I'd never been to Salt Lake per se. I just rode like one trail in Park City, but I knew that Utah was where I was gonna go. So I like saved up some money, and like for like $1,700, I bought a Ford Ranger, and I found this dude like fixing AC. He had this camper shell that was sticking halfway off his truck, and it was all falling apart. I was like, dude, I'll give you $100 for that. He's like, all right, sold. So I moved it from his truck to my truck. I had to like seal the top and like fix it up. It was just totally crappy. And then like I built a little thing and I moved into it. I moved to Utah with $500. Lasted me like 3 months almost.
And this was last year?
This was
How long
probably
ago was this?
This was like 3 years ago.
Oh, so
4 years
so
ago.
I know my years.
Yeah, this was like 3 years ago.
Oh, you got married a year ago, right? That's
yeah.
what you said that.
This might have been more than 3 years ago. Time's flying by really fast. So this was like 4 years. Okay, probably 4 years, 3 or 4 years ago. I moved to Utah, and I like went to Moab and went rock climbing. I was like, this is awesome. I went out there to work for like a wilderness therapy program, but I didn't like the vibe I got when I was there. It seemed like real boot campy. Like everyone there was kind of weird. And I was like, in the middle of like the 8-day field training, I was like, hey, I'm out of here, bro. Like, thanks for having me, but this isn't for me. And then I ended up working for a different program called Aspiro, which is where Aubrey went.
Yes.
So so she's working for them now. And man, it was like awesome. And at that time I was still in recovery, still doing like the 12-step thing and all that stuff. But I was guiding, and you guide 8 days on and 6 days off. And it was definitely different than like the backpacking trips I was used to going on. Like everything's kind of strict, you know what I mean? You know, the kids asking you when they can pee and all that sort of stuff. And like you got dudes trying to run away here and there, like, you know, and there was good things about it and there was bad things about it. The really good thing is I do feel like I had somewhat of an impact on some kids' lives, and that was awesome. Yeah. And I also feel like I grew a lot, you know, because I like worked through the winter. And I'd never really winter backpacked, and now like that's what I'm about. You know, my wife, she doesn't like the cold, but dude, like I like going out. It's like 5 degrees, you know, like waist deep snow, you know, digging out a hole to make your shelter and everything. I don't know, I really dig it. But yeah, I did that for a while, and then I moved back to Houston because my mom was going through chemo, and then that's when I met my wife at Inspire Rock.
So you know, having to do with AA and all that stuff, like those things work, but you kind of said that those things weren't necessarily, at least at this point, aren't necessarily like your jam. What would you say to somebody who's maybe kind of in that same position? Maybe they're in AA and that's kind of like what saved them, you know, but they're kind of thinking, man, maybe this isn't my jam. Like what would you say to that person?
Well, it definitely saved me. Okay, like it's definitely what I needed for sure. And I stayed sober for 5 years. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I was a crazy meth head and I'm not anymore. You know, like even like cigarettes and nicotine, like I quit that completely, you know, like, and I know lots of dudes, you know, that had the kind of similar path as me, you know, but not everybody's like that. So like only you can know, you know, and to me, I just felt like there was more than what I was doing. And I was like, I'm getting all my healing and all like my constant growth through like being outside, you know, like going backpacking for like a long ass time, you know, like not just like going on a hike, you know, like spending time in the mountains alone or like with people, whatever, you know, like crushing it on my bike. I just like had these, because I noticed I was just like, oh, I can't wait till I have another year sober. That's going to be tight, you know, like, which is cool. Like you got 30 years sober. Like that's crazy. That's awesome. You know, but for me, I was just like, I felt like I was just kind of like, as far as like my sobriety, like my technical sobriety, like whatever you want to call sobriety. Like I have people, you know, from recovery that are like, oh, are you still sober? I'm like, yeah, I haven't, you know, I'm pretty sober right now, you know. And there was a time where I was like smoking some weed and stuff, you know, but I like quit that completely.
Well, yeah, and that's a far cry from.
Yeah, for sure. I figured out that wasn't for me, you know. I figured out like being drunk wasn't for me either, you know. I figured out that I just don't really have any desire for any sort of like drugs or anything like that. So
so like, you know, when you ended that little story there, you were leading up to your mom starting chemo.
Yeah.
After all this stuff's happening, all these people seem to be like dying left and right, I guess.
Yeah.
Did you feel an urge to go back to that old life?
Not at all. Not one bit, you know. And that's like, I knew people in recovery and like they'd be like, oh, this person just died and I really need to get through it sober, you know. I'm like, yeah, for sure, you know, like, but for me, there was just a day in my sobriety where I was like, all those like crazy things that I did, like I did them so young, you know what I mean? Like I was really young when I got sober when I was like 19. So all those like hardcore drugs I did was when I was like really young, you know? And so.
How old are you now?
I'm 25 now.
Okay.
Yeah, 25. And I was like, so I didn't like have a chance to develop into who I was. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure I don't really remember like what I was like when I was like a super youngin', you know, like I don't think I was like mean to anybody really. Like, I don't know. I was a nice person, but I didn't really like know like who I wanted to be or what I actually was. Like, I didn't know my traits, you know, like, you know, that you know, when you have that friend, you're like, man, that guy's awesome. he's always honest. He's always on time. He's just super good. And he's just like always about helping people. You know, I didn't know if I was like that type of person. I didn't know who I was. You know, all I know is I was like to do a lot of drugs, you know, and that was my focus. And that's what I did.
Yeah, and that kind of becomes like, that's who I am. That's the person I am. Like, I'm the kid that does a lot of drugs.
Yeah, and like my personality was a reflection of that.
Yeah.
You know?
19-year-old Andrew was the kid who did a lot of drugs. Who is the 25-year-old Andrew, if you would have to describe yourself in 6 seconds?
6.
Oh, it's hard. It's
5.
6. Oh.
4, 3, 2,
I don't
blank.
know, man. Like, I love...
Or 3 words.
I love people. I just want to, like... I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I'm all about like loving people. Like, I try not to get mad at humans, you know, like I feel like I'm really good at like empathizing or sympathizing or whichever one you should use, like with people and like coming down to them and be like, yo, like, I see what's going on, or I think I do. And I have like compassion for you because of that. And I try to like find that in every human, you know, when it used to be like, when I was like on drugs, I was like, you know, like, I won't screw anybody over unless they screw me over first. But it's like, I always find a reason that, they screwed me over, you know, so I got to get them now. You know, I don't know. I was just, like I said, I was a reflection of the drugs I was doing. And like, you know, like your whatever lobe in the front of your mind doesn't like fully develop really till you're 25 or however old it is for males and females. But like, mine definitely wasn't developed. And like, it's like the drugs were taking the place of that development. So once I got sober and like got time to realize that I am a completely different person than that. Like, it was like I was a baby in a whole new world. You know, I'm like figuring out like, oh, there's like, this is who I am. Like, everything was like, it was so weird being nice because I didn't know I was supposed to be nice or this or that, like whatever. And yeah, it was like a whole new world to me, you know, and then as my character developed through my sobriety and then through those years of like going on trips and like doing like, whether it's climbing or mountain biking or this or that, I just realized what I've always wanted to be psyched about. And like I said, you know, I used to dream about like going to the mountains and stuff. Like, I don't even know why. Like, I had never seen mountains, you know? And I was like, but I was always thinking about them and trying to picture like what they would be like to be there and like how, and the drugs kind of never let me go there. And then once I went there, I like formed into who I am now. And I'm continuing to form, you know, and like I'm down in Houston. There's no mountains. Like, if anyone's never been to Houston, there's no mountains here. Flat. Lots of rock gyms though, like super good ones, you know, and actually some pretty good mountain bike trails for like, and so, but yeah, I'm here, you know, like trying to get like the spiritual stuff going, you know, and like I do feel it, you know, it's like I feel the healing, like it's amazing, you know. But me and my wife, we're about to go on like a 2-month trip to Canada, and we're gonna go like climbing and, you know, Yosemite and like Squamish, go mountain biking in Whistler, and go to Banff, go fly fishing in Montana, all that stuff. And I'm just like, I know it's gonna be an awesome like opportunity to just like step into like healing and like kind of go back to my roots, you know, because I was like like I said, I was like a backpacking guide for like a long time. I've done a lot of trips. I spent a lot of time in the backcountry, dude, like a lot of time in the wilderness, just. And then there was a time where I was like, I'm done guiding, you know what I mean? I want to just take some time off for myself. And honestly, I was like mountain biking a lot and going on some climbing trips, but I wasn't really like spending much time in the wilderness, you know, like deep in the wilderness like I was. And then like all this bad stuff kind of happened during that period. And it was just like bad timing to decide I was burnt out, you know? I was like, so, but like I said, things are like getting like revived. So
it's awesome.
I want to ask a question pertinent to your wife, just to get into this cheery aspect of the interview. So you recently got married, right?
Yes.
And you're talking about how such a nice person she is and how much she has helped you heal. Can you just tell us a little bit about your love story, etc.?
Okay, yeah. So I was like rock climbing, and like I saw this woman that worked at the rock climbing gym, and I was like, and I kind of knew her name. I think like I read on her name tag, but I remember seeing her. And I was like, she's beautiful and she seems like she's amazing. But I didn't really talk to her, and then I moved to Utah. And we somehow became friends on Facebook. You know, sometimes you just become friends with someone on Facebook that you've seen like once,
you've just
but you
like
don't really know.
Right? And so
somehow we became friends on Facebook. I don't know if she added me, I added her. And then so like randomly I would like be on Facebook and I'd see like these paintings because she's like an amazing painter. And So I'd see these paintings and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool. So I came back to visit, and I was like climbing. I was like belaying someone, and she came up. She was like walking around, you know, like doing the patrolling that you do in the climbing gym, you know, and just making sure everyone's belaying. She came and she was like, oh, what's up? And I was like, what's up? I was like,
just
like,
casual.
you got some cool paintings, you know, like, I don't know, you know. And we kind of talked, and I was like, man, I dig her. You know, I was like, I dig her, but I live in Utah, whatever, you know. And then I asked her about, like, what she's doing. So, oh, yeah, I'm going to school. Like, I want to, like, maybe do this art therapy stuff, like, you know, Houston stuff. You know, like, I'll be in Houston kind of thing is what I kind of thought. So I was like, oh, you know, it sucks. But, you know, like, that's awesome that that's what she wants to do, but I don't know, you know, like. And then I came back. Like I said, I came back because my mom was going through chemo and all this stuff. And then my mom was, like, starting to get a lot better. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to come be with my mom while she's doing chemo and all this stuff and, like, just spend a lot of time with her. And then I'll move back to Utah for a while, or I don't know. And then I was like, when I told my buddy, I was like, dude, I'm coming back to Utah and I'm finding a wife and moving back. I mean, I'm coming back to Houston, I'm finding a wife and moving back. And it actually happened. I was like, it actually happened.
When you said that you were going to come to Houston to get your wife and then come back, were you thinking about her when you said that? It's like, or you just randomly
Definitely,
said it?
she was like in the crosshairs. You know, I didn't know if she would still be at the gym, you know, but I was like, I'm going straight to Inspire Rock, you know. But yeah, and like I was like, I'm gonna spend time, you know. But if I was like, if I find a girl down there, you know, I'll you know, maybe we get married. She can move back to Utah with me. That would be like pretty cool. And I ended up staying way longer. You know, I was like only gonna be around for like 4 months, 5 months. I ended up staying for like over a year. Became a route setter at the gym, and it was like, we like climbed together, and she was like my manager. I was like doing like the pro shop, then I was doing like floor staff, and she was like my manager. And we were always joking and laughing and stuff. I was like, yo, we should climb and stuff, you know? So we like climbed together, and it was just like, I was like, I like her, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I didn't know if she dug me, you know, but then this one girl that worked there was like, oh, she was saying that she kind of likes you or some stuff. And then we went to like my friend's going away party because my friend was like moving to North Carolina or something, or maybe it was somebody's birthday, I don't know. And we rode together because my truck was a piece of crap, man. Okay, like I would have to get one of the kids from the rock climbing team to help me push start it every time I left work. Nice. So it was like a disaster. And I was like, oh, can we carpool, you know, from the gym? And we rode together, and like we talked. In your car? In her car.
Oh, okay, good call.
And good call. And then we talked on the way, and it was cool. And like we hung out, and then she was bringing me back to my car, and I was like, hey, we should like go on, like we should go out sometime. Or I said something really awkward. I was like, we should hang out, like not climbing, like not rock climbing. You know what I mean? Like. Not like let's climb together and hang out.
Oh God, I wish people could see what he's doing with his eyebrows.
Yeah, like some sort of date, you know. And she kind of picked up what I was putting down, you know. And she's like, "Okay, that sounds nice." I was like, "Okay, later," you know. Yeah. And then like, luckily my car started first try.
Nice.
So it wasn't awkward. And then she came over for breakfast. Like I made her breakfast. I made her like some tacos, some breakfast tacos, nice. And we hung out. And, like, we were just having, like, super real conversation, like, just, like, kind of connecting, you know, like, pretty instantly. And then we went on some other dates, and then, like, we went on another date, and then she was all, like, it was obviously, like, first kiss time. Like, for sure. I gave her a hug goodbye, and I was like, I'm going to kiss her now. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then I, like, let go of the hug, and then, like, came back in. It was, like, really awkward, but it was really awesome.
So, wait, so you kissed?
Yeah, we did. It was cool, sick. Dude. It was cool. Dude, sick. And I was like, yes. Nice. And then she left, I left, I went home, and I told my cousin instantly. I was like, dude, I kissed the girl.
I found the wife.
It was awesome. Yes, like I pretty much knew, like from the start. I was like, dude, this isn't gonna be like any other relationship. And that sounds cheesy, and that sounds like something other people say, but like, I haven't been in a lot of relationships, but I've been in a few that, you know, that I was thinking, like, I don't know, maybe this person's, like, going to be, and when I really thought about it, I was like, probably not, you know, but, like, I was like, I knew, like, she was so pure and just so amazing and just, like, everything that it was going to be her. And then, awesome. And then we were, like, dating and going out, and it was cool. And she pretty much instantly kind of moved in, you know, like, just all of a sudden, nice. She was just, like, sleeping over every single night, and we were just, like, hanging, and... It's cool. And so And then I guided this like 30-day trip, or it was like 21 days backpacking, like 9-day mountain bike like trip that I guided with these kids. And I was okay, I'm gonna be out in the wilderness for like a long time. I'm gonna use this time to think about whether or not I'm gonna ask her to marry me. And we had kind of like talked about it or whatever, but in my mind I was like, I'm gonna use this time to fully decide. And I was like, pretty much first day out there, I was like, I'm marrying her. You know what I mean? I was like, I already decided, okay, I could go back now, you know. And so yeah, we got home, like I wrapped like this gift on Christmas for her, and it had nothing in it. It was like a box, like a ring thing with nothing in it, you know, like. And then while she was opening it, I was like, boom, on my knee. Nice. You know what I mean? Like she looked up, I was on my knee with the actual gift, you know. And of course she said yes. And yeah. Awesome.
So she was your manager at Inspire Rock, like.
Yeah, basically she was my boss.
Are there any parallels like between she's your manager at Inspire and now is she the manager?
Oh, she definitely manages me. You know, she manages my craziness, dude. She's been like, and especially. Like, dude, you know, whenever you're taking the vows and you're like in sickness and in health, like all that stuff, like it's real, dude. Like it's real. Like, you know, if you're like for anybody that's listening that's like talking about getting married, like, dude, that stuff is real. You know, you got to be ready, because I definitely got sick, like mentally, like in like a harsh way, like really fast. And she has been so incredibly great and instrumental and like important to my recovery, and like both of us, like, you know, like believing in God together and like doing all this together has just been like, dude, like if she wasn't there, I don't know what. Yeah. I don't know.
It's so beautiful to hear you say all these things. And once again, I'm getting teary-eyed. I think it's a pattern. Or I'm PMSing. But
one of the two.
It's so beautiful to hear all this, because if you have heard this long, if you've been with us throughout the entire interview, you have been through so much and critical things. And right now you're just beaming, and you have such a positive outlook and way to perceive life. And it's beautiful to see that someone who overcame drug addiction and who has lost so many people in life is living such, let's say, happy life. And I'm doing
air quotes.
Yes, because that's subjective. But it is possible to be able to overcome hardships in life and
for sure,
thrive.
Yeah, I mean, like even from like the darkest like depths of like my mind, I was like, there's no coming back from this. I was like, there's no way I'm ever gonna feel better. Like, this is crazy. Like, how can I ever recover? You know, and it can happen, and it will happen. You know, and a lot of that is just like declaration. You know, it's like I am a man of God. Like I am like. There's like great things in the future, and it's going to be awesome, you know? And it's like, and I have to declare that some days I like don't feel great. Like I feel a lot better than I did, you know, but some days like I definitely am still depressed, you know, like it'll hit me and I'll be like, I know what this is, you know what I mean? And it's just like, and I'm not going to let it mess me up, you know?
Yeah.
I'll like definitely have to like, you know, I've been doing a lot of like mindfulness meditation, and like that's definitely been like helping me a lot, you know? I always was like sketchy. I was like, okay, you know, like I'm thinking really hard about like this or that, or like focusing on my breath or this, but I've really been like doing it a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, it helps me like really like, cause like I'll have like a depressing thought, and then my mind will be like, oh no, I'm depressed again. Like, oh, it's all coming back. Totally. Like I'm freaking out. Like you should freak out because you're not getting better. Like obviously not. But then I'll be where it's like, okay, just yesterday I had like one of the greatest days ever, you know, skiing or something or whatever it is I was doing. So it's like, so I know that that's not true. What my mind's telling myself.
Perspective.
Yeah. So.
I think it's a common theme. Like, you know, I've dealt with anxiety. You know, a lot of people have. It's kind of a common thing. It's like your anxiety starts to give you anxiety.
Oh yeah,
you know,
you're spiraling down. That is the thing. You spiral down.
Yeah. Or you think about how you were anxious once, and like how crazy it was, and I'm like, oh, just thinking about how that happened. Like now I'm getting crazy again. You know, like just thinking about the past or the future. You know,
it's so slippery. You know, like it's such a slippery thing, and sometimes you can't even control it. But it's that perspective, right? It's that perspective of, well, yesterday was a good day. Yeah. But in that moment, it's like it's really hard to do. To think
and it's way easier said than done. You know what I mean?
Do you take any medications for your anxiety?
Yeah, like right now I'm actually like taking CBD. It's like a big hype about it nowadays. Like everyone's like rock climber, like pro rock climbers, like I gotta dose up before this sin. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Like if it works, like that's cool. And like, but I have like I did some actual like what I think's research and like looked at some certain stuff, and it does look like there is some sort of like actual science based, like it does help anxiety. at least can.
CBD, not THC.
Not THC. No.
Yeah.
Like that triggers it for me for
right.
sure. Like, and there is like full spectrum CBD that has like trace amounts. Even that I don't mess with. I just mess with the pure CBD. And like, obviously I don't buy it at the smoke shop. Like I get it from like some legit, CBD, like people, whatever. And I don't know, like I'm using it right now to like get off of anxiety medication, because I feel like I don't need the anxiety medication anymore per se. It's mainly the withdrawals of like stopping the anxiety medication that make me anxious and make you feel squirrely. And so I'm kind of using the CBD and I think it's working. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, then I'll say.
Well, as we're about to hit an hour, but as we're kind of getting closer to the end, I have a question.
Closer to the end. Oh my goodness.
To the person, so back to when you were, 17, 18, 19, those years. To the person that was there that didn't have that support group, they couldn't go skiing, like you did, later. But what would you say to the person right now who doesn't have anyone, maybe he's addicted to drugs, going through something hard?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a tough question to answer, because at that time, doesn't matter what you said to me.
Yeah.
But if I was truly in want of help, like if I was someone that was like truly wanted help at the time, like there was times I kind of did and kind of didn't, but if I truly like was like, I need this to stop and I really want help, you know what I mean? I would just say that there is help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is a ton of help. It's just about how far are you willing to go? You know what I mean? I'm not saying everybody needs to go walk into a church and like pass out on the floor, by the presence of God. Like, I'm not saying that's what you got to do, but like that's definitely there. You know what I mean? Like you could definitely go. There's plenty of programs out there. You know what I mean? Like I found one. Like there's tons of them. There's like this, like recovery is like really like on the come up, I think, and in a lot of different ways. And I think that there's a lot of resources, out there. And I think you just got to search for them, and if you're someone that's like in the mountains, it's like your resources right there, like might sound cheesy, but literally just go take a hike, dude. Like literally go take a hike in the mountains, or go do this or go do that. Just go try it, and see what happens. But that's definitely good. Reach out to other people because it's not something we can just think our way out of, Like with like anxiety or depression or drug addiction, you can't just think really hard about it and it goes away. Yeah. Because I tried that. I tried to just think really hard about like how anxious I was and how it's just ridiculous and it needs to go away. It's like thinking about it really hard doesn't help. Doing it on your own doesn't help. Whether you got to walk into an AA meeting and be like, guys, I am fucked up. Someone help me, please. Like people will help you. Yeah. Like that's the thing is I didn't really know how much other people that I didn't know would love me. It's like, dude, like totally. These people were like, we love you, and like, it's like God like loves me. Like, it's like, I am like truly loved. Like that is an amazing like revelation. Like I knew my parents loved me for sure, but
or at least they say they do.
Yeah, at least they say they do. But it's like, dude, it's so real when you got dudes you don't even know that were like, I've been where you are and I freaking love you, dude.
And that is the beauty of connecting to people.
Right. Yeah.
Talking about connecting to people, I see that Andrew has a banjo. Is that a banjo? Correct me.
You guys heard banjo.
Okay.
Dude,
can you please let's close the podcast with you just dedicating a piece to the listeners. Okay. Let's all connect and just.
All right. Dude, my arms are like sweaty. I'll sing.
And I'm telling you, Andrew does it all, people. Musician.
Just tell me when it's good. I don't know. I can't sing well unless I'm singing to the actual song. Singing off key.
Joyner, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. My armpit's like super sweaty. Like, look at it.
That was awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming in, man.
Dude, that was cool.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Yeah.